Hi, welcome back. It's been a long time because I've been working too hard. And so I've got a new lesson, and this lesson is going to be a rhythm lesson. Reason being, I've got a couple of lessons up. What I've been doing is following a lot of pages on Facebook that are beginners guitar lessons, whatever. Find them super interesting, and I love looking at like just people like, oh, how does this work? There's lots of stuff on theory, and occasionally I'm like, look, I think I've got something to add there that should be of value. I've been sharing my first guitar lesson to help like absolute beginners just try and have something as a reference that might help them. And one of the things that keeps popping up is to do with rhythm and strumming patterns. And I was like, yeah, okay, I think I've got something that will help people out. And it is this. I really have never struggled with rhythm, okay, and I've taught quite a few people who I can see struggle with it. It seems like they're kind of stuck a lot of times and not prepared to maybe look a bit silly or something like that. I quite often try and get students to just mute strings and just do something silly. So look, to qualify that I can play rhythmically, it's probably, I'm not saying I'm the best guitarist in the world. I think I can have an ability to teach people probably to a higher standard than I can play. I understand a lot about theory and these sorts of things. I'm going to play a couple of tracks for you that are very rhythmically orientated, so that you can just to qualify what I'm saying, right? So that you're not like, oh, this guy, like, what does he know about rhythm or whatever. So what's the name of this one? It's an old disco track that I played in a band years ago. I'll play it. See if you can post in the comments the name of this track. But point being, that's very, very rhythmically heavy. There's lots of going on with the right hand. I'm using a pick. I think a misconception can be rhythmically, well, I've got to get this hand working. Don't forget, it's got to work in coordination with this hand, all right? Now, this is all going somewhere, and I think it's going to go somewhere that a lot of people wouldn't expect, and I'm going to direct you somewhere where a lot of people probably wouldn't direct you, but just bear with me. So that's a very rhythmically intense song, and here's another one. This is a Robert Johnson track. Robert Johnson, bluesy, grandfather of the blues, like just, I love his stuff to bits. This piece, I think, is a standout, quite uniquely rhythmical pattern that I feel like probably led very much, opened up the doorway to kind of boogie woogie and that kind of thing. It's called Hot Tamales, and it's this. Obviously a lot going on, lots of beats. There's also some rests, right? So look, we're gonna touch on some music theory here in a little bit. this is something else that shows up in Facebook threads. Music theory, do I do this? Do I study it? Like, how do I get into it? My answer to that is, this stuff first, practical stuff, learn how to... This is in my first lesson. Getting your dexterity up, getting your finger strength up. You've got to be able to play the instrument to, I think, be able to apply your theory. Now, that's my approach. Having said that, you could learn music theory, study it and understand it without ever touching an instrument. And if you want to do that, that's fine. My personal opinion, and this is a way to get into music, to get into guitar, to understand it, I personally think, and this was my approach, I played guitar in a practical sense for a very, very long time before I was like, why is this like this and why is this like that, that kind of thing. The question started to occur to me first from playing, and then I went looking for the answers. So in terms of rhythm, it's probably where you start with music theory. So I'm going to show you in a second some sheet music. So it's fairly heavy music theory stuff, but it's for the drums. Now, I said earlier, I've never really struggled rhythmically, using my right hand and coordinating it with my left hand and stuff like that. But by this stage in life, it's dawned on me why. And why, when I look at some guitarists and kind of go, ooh, you really, conceptually there's a struggle there, and how do I get you over that? And I've touched on this a little bit with people, and it's playing the drums was what I did first. My father was a drummer. There was always a drum kit around. When I was tiny, he'd sit me on his knee and hold my hands and play simple drum beats. So I guess that opens a passage of understanding in your mind, and what it does unknowingly is heads you down a pathway where the way you listen to music and the way you appreciate music is shaped by your understanding of the drums. Now, I'm just going to move for a second because I've got an electric drum kit here. I'll be back. And we're back. And I'm sitting at my electric drum kit that I've got plugged into an amp so you can hear it. So I guess what I'm getting at here is I'm trying to get people on a journey of listening to drums when they're listening to music, because drums generally in contemporary music and rock and blues are probably primarily the styles of music that I get into when I'm playing guitar. They generally have drums playing, and it is the drums that really embody the rhythm of the piece of music. And if you're playing in a band, it's what you're listening to. All of the other musicians on stage are listening to them, not necessarily actively, maybe just kind of, just feeling what the drums are doing. And all the different musicians are locking into the rhythm that's being provided by the drums. I have known in the past, and I've seen musicians who play quite well in their bedroom. Maybe they use a metronome, which is a good start. I think personally playing along to a drum track is a much better start. If you're not doing that and you feel like you've become a reasonably competent guitarist, and you step into a room where there's a band, maybe it's a jam session, or maybe you're auditioning for a band or something like that. If you're not used to listening to what the drums are doing and locking in rhythmically with what the drums are doing, I've seen guitarists really fall to pieces and kind of be like, oh, all of a sudden I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know how to play guitar. It's not so much they don't know how to play guitar, they've just never applied playing guitar into a rhythmical situation. So look, I'm going to post what I've got here that I'm looking at. I'll put the picture up so that you can see it more clearly. But what it is, I'll just show you, it's a piece of sheet music that is an explanation of all the different drums on a drum kit and cymbals, and where they're notated on a musical staff. So generally, if you're playing a melodic instrument, where these notations are arranged would indicate a musical note. So this first one, you know, the spaces in a staff are F, A, C, E, so this would indicate a C, but with when a drummer's playing the drums and he's using a piece of sheet music, it's not melody that's determined by where the note is placed, it's which instrument. So whether we're playing, and let's just go through this, because what I want to do is, and this is probably, you know, if you already know this stuff, move on. If you don't, this is a snare. And that's generally, in a piece of music, it's in probably 99% of music, that is there. And a lot of people know what the kick is. Now I'm just gonna, you know, that's kick drum. So on this sheet, the first thing that's notated is snare. Now I'm not a drummer by any means, not claiming to be. I dabble, I enjoy it, it's good fun. I played the drums when I was younger. The second one is cross stick. I don't really know what that is. Maybe it's a rim shot, or I don't know. But the third one is bass drum. And then there's second bass drum for, I don't know whether you've got a double kick, actually, that sort of setup. The next one is that sound. That's a closed hi-hat, so it's two cymbals sitting on top of each other. When they're closed, it sounds like that. Now I've got a pedal, where I lift my foot up, it sounds like that, which is the two cymbals open and kind of bashing against each other. So, look, and it goes through. There's crash cymbal, ride cymbal. You'll hear rides used a lot in rhythm. Sometimes you will hear the hi-hat used in the verse, and then so that you kind of change up the feel of what's going on in the chorus, you'll hear the ride cymbal. These are toms. That's rack tom 1, rack tom 2, and you know, it could be tom 3, or it's usually called floor tom. It's called a floor tom because if it's an acoustic kit, it's a big drum that's actually sitting on the floor rather than being attached to the rest of the kit. So, for the purpose of what we're talking about, the important ones are closed hi-hat, so my foot's down, closing the cymbals together to give that sound, because that's in a lot of stuff. And it's usually indicating the overall time signature, or holding each beat that's existing in the piece of music. Whereas the snare and the kick will be used at different points and will usually coincide with these. So now the second piece of sheet that I'll pop up for you in a minute. On the top, we've got a piece of music that's in 4/4, which is most rock, most blues, and what 4/4 is with all of the notes that we have there. You'll notice there's at the top where we've got the note indicated for closed hi-hat, there's 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, there's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's choke cymbal. You can't choke these cymbals. I'm going to count this out for you. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and we can see the hi-hat, closed hi-hat notes that are at the top. The second from the top are the snare beats indicated, these, and the bottom notes are indicating the kick drum. So that piece of music looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So every time I count 4, I'm completing that from start to finish. The piece at the bottom is a different time signature. It's 6/8. So there are 6 beats to the bar. We've got these groupings of hi-hats, 2 groupings of 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Something like that. It's in groups of 3. You get the picture. Now, so I guess what I'm saying is rush out and buy a drum kit. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is listen to that stuff. Be in tune with it. Listen to a piece of music. I'm going to play a song for you in a minute, and I'm going to play along to it best I can. Again, I'm not a drummer. What I would suggest though is this hand is the hi-hat hand. This hand is the snare hand, right? And your right foot is, I'm tapping my toe, that's your kick drum. So you've got a drum kit with you. You can just use, just scan down a little bit so that you can see roughly what I'm doing. Now, a lot of people find that really, really complicated, and it probably looks really, really simple, but there's a thing that you're doing where you're doing one thing with one hand, you're doing another thing with another hand, you're doing something else with your foot. And if you've never tried to, it's a bit like, patting your head, rubbing your tummy, and then swapping over. If you've never tried to do that sort of stuff, it can really stretch your brain. But hey, really, really good for your brain in the way that you think, especially musically. So be patient with yourself. And this is, again, I'm just starting you on a journey. So the point being, just think about this that's my hi-hat, and my foot's my kick, and the other hand's my snare. When you're listening to any piece of music, see if you can hear where that hi-hat is. And sometimes you hear this a lot, a 16 beat, where it's, see if you can hear that in a piece of music. See if you can hear what the hi-hat's doing. See if you can hear what this is doing. Where is it? Oh, there it is. It's there. Whatever it is, whatever the rhythm is. If you start thinking about that stuff and you start hearing it and keying into it, and especially if you start being able to play along with whatever's going on, and that you're doing that wherever you are, because you might be a bit limited with time to sit down and play your guitar, sure, but you don't have to be limited by time for learning music. I listen to music at work a lot of the time. I'm lucky enough I can have headphones in while I'm working, and once you're keyed in and you're listening and interpreting music and that kind of thing, because you've opened that passageway and you're thinking about what sound the different parts of the drum makes, and also, oh, there's the bass guitar, I can hear the bass guitar. So the bass, it's the bass register instrument that's in a lot of contemporary music, rock especially. What's the rhythm guitar doing? Jigga, 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 jigga. What's the the lead guitar might be playing a melodic piece, ding, ding, something like that over the top of everything. It's really important, I think, if you're on this journey of learning an instrument, is listening. What's going on? But you know, what musicians, they talk about the punters, the people that turn up to gigs. Punters are generally not musically literate, and that's fine. We've all got our thing that we do. Punters aren't breaking that stuff down. You know, they're hearing the music and getting into the jive of it, and they're dancing, right? But they're dancing rhythmically, and not aware of it. They're moving to they're moving to that. But if you're a musician, you need to take it a little bit further. You need to start listening to what the drums are doing, a piece of music that you love, or just generally when you're driving in the car, listen to where's that hi-hat in that piece of music that you're listening to, and remember that's your hi-hat hand, your right hand, if you're right-handed. You know, obviously you can flip it around. That's your hi-hat hand. Listen, where's that hi-hat? Where's the snare? And what's the kick doing? Boom, boom, right? Just get in tune with it and listen to it, and especially start tapping along to it. And you know, that's a very simple rock pattern, great. As you start applying that to more complicated, you'll hear things that you're like, as I said, Gojira, sure. John Bonham, the drummer from Led Zeppelin, man, I try and tap along to that stuff, and your brain just goes because his sense of what he's doing with this hand and this hand is highly trained. He got right into syncopated rhythms and, you know, African drum beats. Ginger Baker from Cream, like, also try and follow along. But you'll find, like, you know, a lot of pop stuff, and, you know, reggae's got a feel, right? All these different genres have got this different feel, and it's because of what's going on here. How are they applying the hi-hat and the drum and the kick drum and the snare, and what are they doing there? Listen to it, be aware of it, try to follow along with it. So, in wrapping that all up, just let me grab my guitar. You're all trying to get into strumming patterns. I think that's where we're going. So, that's the hi-hat. And look what I'm doing with it. I mean, I can put a stick in my hand, right? I can just about do this, look. I could just about play it like, it's the same motion, is my point. So if you're listening and you're tapping to the drums, you could also listen to what the rhythm guitar is doing, and like, but he's probably following that hi-hat. So that's the hi-hat. Now, trying to think of rhythmical guitar players. Probably Jimi Hendrix is a very rhythmical guitar player. So what he's kind of doing a lot of the times is, I tell you who, Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl's the drummer from Nirvana. And then he went to Foo Fighters and he picked up the guitar. Have a listen to the way he plays guitar. He talks about this himself. He plays the guitar a little bit like he plays the drums. And okay, sure, why wouldn't you? Because you're using this rhythmically too, you know. Right, same rhythm that could be played on the drums. So hi-hat, snare, right? Or downstrokes. Can maybe do that with an upstroke instead. So I'm thinking this is these are my hi-hat beats, and they're my snare beats. You know, a bass guitarist, if that's what you're getting into, bass guitarist listens to the kick, very much so. A really good bass guitarist will tell you, and sometimes they're looking at the kick. You know, there's a lot going on stage, and they're watching the drummer do that with his foot on the kick drum. And then he's like, he's locking into what that kick drum's doing. So again, that's another guitar, bass guitar, not 6-string, really listening to what this guy's doing. You know, you're changing sections. That's what the drum roll is. Boom, boom, tap, boom, boom, tap, bada, 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 boom. That bada, 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 boom, or whatever it is, ba-doom, ba-doom, ba-dam, ba-doom, tsh, finish with a cymbal beat. That is, we're wrapping up the verse, we're going into the chorus, or we're finishing the chorus, we're going into the middle eight, or, you know, these are, so point being is another reason why you're listening. Get in tune, listen to what the drums are doing, because on stage they're communicating to everyone. The lead guitarist isn't necessarily, you know, he's listening to the drummer, but the rest of the band are trying not to listen to the lead guitarist, and they're telling him to turn his amp down several times a gig. Anyway, that's a different story. So strumming patterns, you know, like we're talking about that hi-hat beat. Let's say there's 4 to the bar. Let's pick a chord that's probably something easy for you to hold. Let's say A minor. I feel A minor's a great key for guitar because the A minor, the A minor pentatonic, it's right in the middle of the neck. It's a nice easy place to play that you can explore this way, you can explore that way. So learn that chord, A minor. So if we're playing the A minor chord and I'm muting that top string with my thumb because I don't want it ringing out, and I'm playing rhythmically, right? So 4/4, 4 beats to a bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 4. I'm muting. I'm lifting my hand on and off. I'm coordinating this hand with this hand via my brain to go, I'm going to squeeze those notes down only when I'm playing with my right hand. So this is another thing where the drums, you're coordinating what this hand and this hand is doing. They're doing something different, but they're communicating with each other. And that's why that concept is important with what you're doing rhythmically. You know, if I held that down, right, that's a different thing. You might want to do that. I find to emphasize the rhythmical nature of what we're doing there, that little muting, I'm also muting with my palm heel here, in between each note. And then up and down, you know. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just that is very difficult for a lot of people to get into if they haven't started that journey rhythmically. I recommend starting that journey rhythmically with understanding how drums work. If you've got access to a drum kit, man, spend some time playing the drums and messing around, listening to pieces of music and playing the drums to them, and then go back to your guitar and see how you do rhythmically. It's going to make a big difference. So yeah, like up down strokes. So I'm using a combination of, I'm lifting these up and down to coordinate here. Every now and again I'm muting, and I'm doing all these little, with a rest or with a, I'm arpeggiating the chord, so I'm just playing that same chord note by note. And each note that I'm playing is coordinated with my concept of what the drums would be doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, with big rests, because rests are rhythmical as well. You know, if you're just playing 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's nice. It lacks dynamics, it lacks anything interesting. So you're trying to develop this toolbox of different rhythmical ideas, right? And by the way, I just picked 2 chords, right? I can play an A minor chord, I can play a D chord. I understand that if I'm building a song off of that, I'm just going to stick to that 4/4 because I like it. I like rock, I like the blues. It's what I like. If you want to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, go for it. That's your thing. You know, the same concept applies. So yeah, A minor 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I see what I'm doing with my head too, and I'm actually moving my leg. I was like, I don't even have to play. I'm like that. And if I was on stage, I'm listening to the drums. Like I'm playing that 1, 2, 3, 4 with my body. So I can come back in 3, 4 with my body. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And with that 1, 2, 3, 4, I can add in whichever other ones that I want. So I'm just doing at the moment, I'm on the 1, or every second 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, changing chords and then go 1, 2, 3, 4. That's nice, and I mean that works. You're being rhythmical. It's not complicated. To that point, when it becomes complicated is, you know, I want to fill in. Let's say I want to fill in each beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's slightly more complicated. What's, I think, nicer to listen to, and that's what you're striving for, is maybe mixing those up where you 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So dramatic, just a little, you know, and just be in a room by yourself with no one around and go nuts. Like, that's just me drawing from something, probably from, what is it, Sweet Child in Time by Deep Purple. Goes. So the point is that I've learnt to play that, added to my toolbox this, right? Filling in those extra beats, but I'm still 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm throwing in there's a beat in there where I've just got them all open. So I think I spent a lot of time growing up. I played drums early. Guitar was my first instrument. I was a little kid just sitting with the guitar going. I love the sound that this instrument makes. I'm fascinated by it. Always have been. It's always just been like, oh, like from that first like, oh, what the hell, man? Like, and then like, ooh, that's different. The point that I'm making there is just free. You don't be so locked in. I think a lot of people following these Facebook threads are like, I'm introducing you to this concept. Once you've had a look at it and you've understood it, don't study it. Like you can if you want to, but I'm just open yourself up to that idea and try and be free with it. Don't try and be super robotic. You know, everyone talks about practicing with a metronome. Understand that that's important, but it's not everything. You don't want your whole approach to be like, oh, what's the strumming pattern? 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, you're looking at the strumming pattern with the arrows. 2, 3, 4. Oh, great. Oh, it's up, down, up, down. Listen to the music. Listen to what the guitarist is doing, because I'll tell you something else too, is that if you have that robotic approach, you will sound robotic. And that's not what music is about. The drums are locking in a beat. If you use a electronic drum, you will lose feel. So a drummer is sliding in and out of tempo because he's a human. He's moving. A metronome or a drum machine is locking you in like a clock. So to me, there's a problem with that. It's if you're making electronic music, you know, that has its place, and I like a lot of electronic music as well. But I think you should also have the approach of just being human and feeling and knowing that, yes, I'm locking into a beat, but it just kind of moves around a little bit. So don't be so regimented and locked in. And so all of these different elements that I'm trying to put together, I hope that they will get you to a point where you can look at a piece of music, look what the chords are. You've learnt your chords, because that's probably, you're going to need to know your chords before you worry too much about your rhythmical application. But my approach generally, I don't look at strumming patterns, ever. I look at the chords. I look at, is a chord going for a bar, or is it that same chord for 2 bars, or is it that chord for half a bar and then it changes? Where is it changing? But I'm listening to the piece of music, right? That's really important. Like if I'm looking at a chord chart, so all the chords written down, I'm listening to the piece of music first, and I'm looking at it and going, okay, it's A minor, I can hear that. Oh, I can hear the change to C, right, cool. And there it goes, right, there it is written there. I get an idea of that, and then I listen to what the guitarist is doing. Is he arpeggiating? And I don't get too bogged down in the precision of it. Sometimes that's important, but if you want to do a cover version of someone's song, I'm of the opinion that make it your own anyway. So I try to do that. I look at the chord chart, I get an idea of what's going on, what chords are involved. Can I play those chords? If I got, oh, that's a different one, you know, some half diminished or whatever. Okay, how do I play that? Get all that under control. But then rhythmically, I'm listening. I spend a lot of time listening to the drums because it gives me a sense of rhythm. That is another tool that I have in my toolbox. But when it comes to actually playing the piece of music, then I'm listening to the rhythm that the guitar's doing. What is it doing? I think I've waffled on way long enough. What is it? It's like half an hour worth of stuff. I hope it helps. Yeah. If you've got any questions, fire them at me. I'm on a mission. My mission is to teach as many people as much stuff about music and guitar as I can, because I think the world's in a little bit of a bind at the moment, and opening people's minds up to music and the pleasure. And if you're not enjoying it, why are you doing it? Like, lots of posts that I see, like, oh, I work and I can't find time, and then I find time and it's such a drag. Find something else. Find a different instrument. You might like the tin whistle, or try keyboards, try drums. Drums are just fun. Like, and if you can find that fun bit, you're winning. Like, because it's not a chore then. It's never been a chore for me, and I don't know how it goes for most musicians, but my guess would be anyone that's reasonably good at the instrument that they play just gets a massive amount of pleasure from doing it, and that's a big part of why they've gotten as good as they've gotten. So, yeah, end of rant.